After that, in the 8th verse, he said that is possible for everyone through Abhyasa Yoga. The simple example is given. If for some reason we got bound by 20 turns of a rope around us, we must start working on the matter. One by one, we remove those turns. Have patience. None of our bad habits have happened suddenly, all of a sudden. All our negativities have a history behind them. And therefore, with patient spiritual practices, we can remove those shackles. Perhaps technically, liberation is not a gradual, accumulative process. But practically, the mind definitely becomes lighter. The mind is less burdened through various spiritual practices. And yes, liberation, perhaps as the higher plateau philosophy says, it's a matter of seeing something which has nothing to do with time. Practice is on the axis of time. How much you do, how often you do, and how much exertion you put into the practice, they do matter. But the liberating moment is said to be more connected with how clearly you see. So there are two phases in the journey of a Jivatma towards Mukti. Shankara explained Abhyasa Yoga in a manner suitable to the context. The context is of repetition of a certain technique. So have the same kind of thought repeatedly and do not let other thoughts, at least consciously, to come into the picture. Unconsciously, without our knowing, a thought enters. Then don't blame yourself. Remove it. As soon as you notice, gently push it out. We read the 9th shloka also. The supreme truth called Purusham Divyam. There is a divine principle with which we need to connect ourselves, right? What is that divine principle? Where is it? It's not anything of the world. The money which we value, the pleasures which we seek, the power and position that always attract us, popularity, and the unending effort to avoid bad name in the society. We don't want to be talked ill of. We want to be praised everywhere. All these are not on the level of this Divya Purusha. All of them are valid on the level of the ego. Those who are free of attachment, raga is attachment, right? Those who are free of attachments, all of us know our attachments are the cause of our bondage. In fact, somebody has even said, attachment is Jiva Bhava, detachment is Brahma Bhava. If you have attachment, you remain a Jiva. If you are free from attachments, then you realize you are Brahman. Attachment, raga, is another name for worldly life. And in this world, in the same world where you and I are, with many attachments, there are a few souls, Vitaragaha. They enter a state of consciousness, and I'm going to tell you what that state of consciousness is. I'm going to tell you Sangrahena, very briefly, and it is also a certain imperishable truth, Akshara. And those knowers of Veda talk about it. Veda vidaha yat aksharam vadanti tat padam te, to you sangrahena pravakshye. Then he talks of how to attain that highest state. Once more in the 12th and 13th shloka he touches Om itself. Sarvadvarani sanyamya manohradi nirudhya cha murdnyadayatmana pranam astito yogadharanam sarvadvarani sanyamya manohridi nirudhya cha murdnyadhayatmana pranam astito yogadhar. Om ityekaksharam brahma Vyaharan mamanusmaran yaprayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. Om ityekaksharam brahma Vyaharan mamanusmaran prayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. In a way, verse 12 is pretty much what was said before. Earlier also it was said, bring your attention to the point between the eyebrows. Now it is said, Sarvadvarani sanyamya, close all the gates. Dwara means gates, where entry or exit takes place. Our sense organs are the gates where sense objects, Vishayas, enter. And we are meditating. For a moment we opened our eyes. That is when we saw on our own, let's say, wall, maybe a beautiful picture. That picture is of Kulu Manali in Himachal Pradesh, where our family had gone. For a second you saw and you closed the eyes. You are no more in Lonavala. You gone to Kulu Manali. How nice it was. In a way, it would not be exaggeration to say that was the only time my wife and I experienced some peace. Kulu Manali fir se jana hai. As soon as possible, we will go second time to Kulu Manali. Then you say, what was I meditating on? Kulu Manali hijacked you. Because you just, for one split second, you opened, saw the beautiful painting. So good things and bad things, vulgar things and dirty things, all kinds of things. When did they enter? How did they enter? Through the eyes. Or you hear something. Sense organs. So sense organs especially are called dwara. Close your gates. Sarvadvarani sanyamya. Fix your mind in your own heart. Hradi manaha nirudhya. Murdni pranam adhaya. Murdni adhaya atmanaha pranam. Breath is prana, and prana is much more than breath. But breath is what is accessible to us. We can bring some regulation of breathing pretty easily because it is so concrete. But apana, vyana, udana, samana and so many others, upapranas, etc., God knows where they are, what they are doing at this moment. You had a bhojana, lunch 2 hours ago, and some of the pranas are very active in your body, digesting it. They do their job quietly. You don't have to. In fact, you cannot know what is doing what. The work is going on. But breathing is something. Therefore, recently a Buddhist master of international fame passed away. His name was Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese monk, and he was very well known around the world. In the 60s or 70s, Martin Luther King Jr., the social activist and the big leader of the United States, had nominated Thich Nhat Hanh for Nobel Peace Prize. He didn't get the Nobel Peace Prize, but to be nominated for that, and by no less a person than MLK Jr., is not a small thing. That man died. And in his literature, lot of places, Thich Nhat Hanh advises us to mind our breathing. Sit for even 2 minutes. Just notice your breathing. With some friends, I had the opportunity to visit his second large monastery in Southern California. His most well-known place where he himself stayed mostly was near Paris, at a place called Plum Village. I haven't gone to those places, but in US, Deer Park Monastery near San Diego. One thing I may quickly share with you is, as 4 or 5 of us drove in there and went around, big, huge place, peaceful. And then somebody came running and said, in 5 minutes you will hear a bell. Dang! You will hear. Please, when you hear that bell, wherever you are, just stay there only. Don't talk, don't move. Stay for 1 minute. After 60 seconds, there will be another softer bell. Tang. Then continue. Till then, you are almost like statue. We said, okay. And yes, after 5 minutes, we were about to climb some steps. Tang, we heard. All of us, some of us were 1 foot above and 1 foot below. We just stayed there. We were also told, in that 1 minute, you are supposed to observe your breathing. Breathe consciously. And thereafter, if I remember right, every 1 hour, we were there for 3 or 4 hours. Every 1 hour there was tongue, and we were told there were a lot of volunteers at different sections, book section, kitchen, some meditation hall, like any ashram would have some departments. We were told that it is a rule in the entire ashram, Thich Nhat Hanh's ashram. Everyone at the strike of that bell has to stop whatever they are doing and stay quiet, noticing their breathing. So, this is an ancient exercise which is found here too. Murdni adhaya atmana pranam yoga dharanam astitaha. Come back again and again to yoga. Take yoga in the simplest sense for now, in contrast to bhoga, which is feeding the ego. See, bhoga, at first instance, you and I imagine it is some enjoyment. You even taking a well-made coffee, coffee, and some eatable, this, that. But bhoga, more than the sense pleasure is not a big deal, really speaking. It actually feeds the sense of I. It creates dependence. It creates a psychological structure within us very soon we say to ourselves, all this spirituality is okay, but I can't live without coffee. That is certain. That is for sure. So, whether it is coffee or a person with whom we get too attached, with place, with many things, we get attached to many things. So all of them are strengthening this illusory entity called the ego. Whereas yoga is just the opposite, weakening the ego, weakening our bondage, weakening dependence. We may enjoy coffee, but suppose you don't get coffee one morning or one afternoon where we have generally been taking, it pinches us a little, but you smile. It's okay, move on. So, yoga dharanam astitaha. That is when Sri Krishna brings Arjuna, I am giving to you this Om. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. It's called a monosyllable. It is made of a, u and but because of sandhi, it merges into a single syllable, Om. Right. For that matter, in many poetry, etc., also a syllable could be a conjunct consonant also. Sanyukta akshara, like you have apyaya, there is a word, pyaya, pya has one consonant p, second consonant ya, then a vowel a, pya when you transliterate. But the whole thing is one syllable. So there are long syllables, short syllables. Syllable. Ekakshara is single-syllabled, monosyllabled Om. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma. The best name for Brahma is Om. There are countless names of the highest truth, but the one that goes the closest in this tradition is Om. Om iti ekaksharam Brahma vyaharan. Keep repeating that. Keep repeating that. If Om is the best, then why any other mantra under the sun? Why? There is a catch here. Though Om is the best of all mantras, for various reasons, a large number of people are not able to hold Om. First of all, they may have some emotional reasons. Oh, it's so boring to say, oh, what this, they may say. They want some longer string. Secondly, not just a longer string of sounds, but they want some association with the form of Shiva, with the form of, Rama, Krishna, some association. In fact, the human mind has such weaknesses. Even if you give a string of sounds, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, so many sounds, more variety, more the merrier, wonderful. Even then the mind says, oh, this Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Don't you have something else with you? Like you may love masala dosa at MTR restaurant near Lal Bagh in Bengaluru. But second time you go to MTR, third time you go to MTR, you will completely avoid masala dosa. You will ask for something else. That happens in religion and spirituality also. You say, I want something else. Therefore, in the popular practice of religion, though Om undoubtedly is the most excellent support for the mind to rise higher and higher, not too many buyers, not too many takers for that Om. People somehow get sentimentally bound to some form of God. People sometimes have a sentimental attachment to some guru. My Guru has given me this mantra. And some love of Guru, some associated factors. Then they would go for that mantra, which our compassionate Shastras fully endorse. Fine, do that. You will come to a point where from many letters, many syllables, much description and some music, etc., you will arrive at the monosyllable. The monosyllable Om is on high plateau. Vyaharan means Ucharan, Ucharanam Kurvan. Again and again chant it. Mam Anusmaran. That sound should help you remember the state of no ego that it represents. Mam here once more is Sri Krishna referring to that pure consciousness. Yaprayati tyajan deham sayati paramam gatim. He surely will go to the supreme state. Whoever thus takes the alambana, that is the Sanskrit word used for support. Take the support, like a pole vaulter takes the support of a long pole. After running a distance, planting that pole on the ground so artistically. What a pleasure it is for all of us to watch those Olympic athletics. One after another, girls or boys, women or men are doing that. Women's pole vault, men's pole vault, various athletic events. And it's quite an art. The body movement, and in slow motion when they show it, nobody among us says, already I saw, why this slow motion again? Go to the next. No. We, especially recently in not Commonwealth, what was that which was held in Japan? Olympic itself. Olympic, Tokyo. By coincidence, I rarely watch sports events. By sheer coincidence, I was at some home. I don't keep a TV otherwise, in Shimla. And at that time, I was going into my room, my addiction, to work on my laptop. But a young boy in the family said, Swamiji, please come. You watch this part of Tokyo Olympics. Neeraj Chopra, correct. Neeraj Chopra, already he is very close to winning the gold. And rather than going to the room given to me for my stay, I came back, sat with the family on the sofa. Then I was excited. And yes, the javelin that he threw, they showed repeatedly the movement of Neeraj Chopra, the army man from Indian Army. And the way he moves, I can't show, we're doing justice to it. Sorry if you misunderstood. I made a movement, you say, that is how you make while slapping somebody, Swamiji. That's not javelin throw. So, best thing for me is to hold my hands like this and say verbally. I may do better justice verbally than trying some choreography here. So, how wonderful it is. Like that, why did I? Why did all that come? Yeah, but connection to shloka? Alambana. Correct. Alambana, I went to pole vault. The way they take a pole, go to great height and just gently push it away, fall on the other side. Then I went to javelin throw. So, alambana, pole vault, go back to pole vault, and pole vault to go back to Geeta, sayati paramam gatim. Therefore, shloka, stotra, mantra, looking at certain picture of God are all supports. God is way beyond these forms. God is way beyond even the Shiva Linga, which will come now for the evening puja of Shivaratri. God is way beyond any limited figure. The idol, and the statue and symbol, etc. are all not the ultimate truth, but they have been considered a support, alambana. In Kathopanishad, that word is part of mantras. Etad alambanam shreshtam, etad alambanam param, etad alambanam jnatva, yo yadicchati tasya tat. Whatever you want, you will get if you take the support of this Om, says Yama over there. Sri Krishna is that way a little brief. Thus, spiritual practices that will prepare us to be in that extraordinary emptied state of mind during the last hour. Therefore, it is rightly said, Bhagavad Gita is a great guide. It's a great guide to what we may do with our life. It's not some description of some holy things and we are left in the lurch. We are given certain practices, techniques, things to do, how you may do, and so on. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.